After sitting through the ball fest, otherwise known as the Luo's work is never done, I was in the mood for some torture. So, what better series to watch than Death March to the Parallel World Rhapsody? So, how should I put it? Well, I was a little disappointed that my wish didn't come true. Death March to a Parallel World Rhapsody ended up a lot more enjoyable than I wanted it to be. Death March to a Parallel World Rhapsody, or Death March Kara Hajimaru Isekai Kyouso Kyoku, is a 12-episode anime series that aired in the winter 2018 season. Adapted from Ainana Hiro's light novel series of the same name. It is adapted by Silverlink, the home of light novel adaptations and Studio Connect. It is directed by Onoma Shin, who also directed Season 1 and 2 of Batamokte, Dice Maiden of Amnesia, Chivalry of a Failed Knight, and so on. Death March to a Parallel World Rhapsody details the story of the very capable but overworked 29-year-old video game programmer Suzuki Ichiro. After a long day at the office, our protagonist calls it a day and retrieves the dreamland under his desk at work, to only wake up in his 15-year-old body in another world. To a protagonist, this world is very much like a mashup of all the games that he's had a hand in creating. And like in those games, where his handle name for the chess accounts is Satu, he finds that to also be the case here. From Satu's point of view, this world functions very much like the game. You gain experience from killing monsters, and you gain skill points from leveling up. And due to several glitches in the system,
well, that's what I like to consider them as.
Satu finds himself to have been spawned in a rather awkward situation, the verge of being lizard food. This is where glitch number 2 kicks in. Satu somehow kills all of the lizardmen with a skill that no beginner should have their hands on, or be as powerful as it is. After effortlessly wiping out a few hundred lizardmen, he finds himself at level 310 and with enough skill points to last his lifetime. Well, from here on out, the rest of the story progresses like every other isekai series, conquering the world all the while not forgetting to collect cute girls as souvenirs. But since Satu is a little older than your average teenage protagonist, he has morals and self-control. He isn't lusting after the very underage and illegal girlies in his party. Unlike other isekai protagonists, Satu is also rather aware of how OP he is, and knows that he's meant to fill the hero role of the game. One little complaint though, was the purpose of him being a programmer. In the 12 episodes, I didn't get to see the knowledge that he has in a meaningful or useful way. I just thought it would have more use and significance, otherwise he could have just been Salaryman Suzuki and not Programmer Suzuki. Since I'm already talking about something negative, might as well get the rest of the things that I didn't particularly like about Death March to a Parallel World Rhapsody out of the way. The ending isn't too great. It didn't feel like the end of a series or season. It came across just like every other episode in the series, which is kind of off-putting. It left quite a few unanswered questions that I would have liked answered, which they didn't. For example, in episode 10, we get introduced to this mysterious girl from Satu's childhood, who we never hear of again in the remaining episodes. Why introduce a new character in the 10th episode of a 12-episode series when she only gets a few minutes of screen time? She's probably really important later on in the story, but for an anime-only watcher, I just want to ask, what the fuck are you doing, mate? Foreshadowing only works if there's a future to foreshadow. I don't know if there will be a season 2 and I don't particularly care, so in my books, there is no future. And I mean, if she's really that important and there is a season 2, bring her up then, because come on, no one's gonna remember who the fuck she is by then. It's like the production team didn't receive the memo that this will be a 12-episode series and went ahead and brought up another plot point that would require a lot more time than they have to resolve. Anyways, rant aside, I just wanted it to somehow end with an end of arc kind of thing. But if I think about it, this episode was the concluding episode of the witch arc.
Well, that's what I call it anyways.
But it just lacks some oomph. I have no idea why I thought it would end in a meaningful way. I mean, the entire series kind of lacked impact, but a girl can dream, can't she? The villains. I don't particularly want to call them that, but that's what they are, and they are retarded. When the main character is level 310, and the entire 12 episodes, the thing closest to his level is at level 40. So intimidating, so threatening, so scary. Furthermore, it seems that all of the bad guys that Satu and Co encounters all have verbal diarrhea. When the bad guy is crooning about all the bad things that he's gonna do to you, or spilling their life story or the evil master plan, kind of not that scary. I would have liked to gradually find these out, but yeah, the bad guys do gradually get less retarded as the party encounters stronger enemies. But they're still retarded. Until the bad guys learn to shut their mouths, and they're gonna come across as retarded, just varying in degrees. Now, I don't know if it's because the adaptation team is trying to cover as much source material as possible, or it's just like this in the light novel, but the telling and not showing really makes the bad guys come across as more of a clown than a threat. The villains aren't the only talkative bunch. Every single character has the I must speak or I will die disease. That means there's a lot of exposition. Everyone tries to dump as much information as possible before the next person does the same thing over. It's like no one knows how conversation works. Because of this, the dialogue is rather interesting, but it's understandable. I mean, it's an easy way for the audience to know as much about a character in as little time as possible. I'm kind of not into hearing about a character's life, be it out of their own mouth or another character's mouth in one breath. But maybe there are people out there that does. But yeah, that's not how you have a conversation or hold someone's attention. And it seems like I've contracted either the I must speak or I will die disease or verbal diarrhea, as I can't seem to shut up. Now, let's move on to things I enjoyed so I can go and find a cure for my sickness as soon as possible. I really like how everything that was shown has some significance or another. Something that may first appear to be pointless, all of a sudden has a purpose later on in the story. When I was watching the third episode, which I initially thought to be, a straw in the market with harem member number 1, which it is, but the events and things that they encounter didn't really happen for no reason. There's a meaning behind them. You can't imagine how excited I was when I saw that the random things that he purchased had a use. This is the only isekai I've seen that actually has foreshadowing. Not that I've seen all that many, but I'm still impressed. And because the series has shown me that they're capable of filling up the holes that they dig, I'm rather interested in seeing how the rest of the story progresses, and whether certain events are just plot holes or foreshadowing. For example, the black dragon that is brought up in the third episode, and the role of the mysterious girl from Satu's past. Yes, I may be butthurt about her introduction, but that doesn't mean I'm not curious. Sadly, I'm not curious enough to read the manga or light novel, but that's neither here nor there. Strangely enough, I really enjoyed that they had a skill for everything. And I mean everything. There's a skill for everything that you can think of, and I'm sure of things that you can't. The catch to this, Satu has to experience these skills in order to gain them in the skill tab. It's kind of fun seeing Satu racking up useless skill after useless skill. And it's nice to see that he's not Mr. All-Capable right off the bat. He has to work for it.
One thing I'm rather curious about though is whether everyone else in that world picks up skills like he does, or is he just special because he's the hero.
Furthermore, whenever Satu uses one of the skills, the skill name pops up at the corner of the screen, telling us that he's using said skill, which makes it seem like Satu is stuck in a game that we are, or he is, or someone is playing. Satu's ability to pick up skills faster than girls makes it rather different and refreshing to watch, compared to other isekai series where the protagonist is given everything from the get-go, that is. I really do have a thing for simple shows that aren't trying to be something that they're not. Dig. Death March to a Parallel World Rhapsody is just like any other stuck in another world story. It has everything that you would expect from an isekai. Cute girls, exploring, fan service, overpowered main character, etc. Even though it has nothing that I haven't seen before, the way that it was executed was rather enjoyable. For me, I'd rather a show be simple and safe than adventurous, and be an absolute mess. I have nothing against a show trying to be creative, but I feel that they have to weigh the odds.
Like having a good solid script, a seasoned, reliable director who knows what they're doing, an overall solid team to carry out the production, and money.
and see if they have what it takes to make a masterpiece and not a piece of shit. But yeah, just personal preference. As a food lover, it's a real treat to see that food in Death March to a Parallel World Rhapsody is given a rather significant role. As it can be seen in episode 2, food is the thing that enables Satu to reach the conclusion that he's not in dreamland but in another world. Satu is seen lying in bed contemplating how vivid the flavors and textures of the food that he's eaten so far and how very different they are to what he's had previously. From this, it can be seen that food is the only grounding thing that is connecting the two worlds for Satu, as everything else comes across as being surreal and dreamlike. Thus, the subtle differences in the food that he's consumed in this new world to what he's had in the other world acts like a wake-up call. Furthermore, throughout the series, food can be seen to be the catalyst for him learning more about this very new world that he's part of. One example of this will be in episode 10, where he learns of the existence of a storage system that requires mana to deposit and withdraw from, which is rather different to the inventory that he's been using the whole time. It seems like no one else is privy to a storage system as OP as his, but then again, they're not the main character. This led to him witnessing and conducting a couple of experiments with food as the guinea pigs, to see what else is different between the two storage systems and what they're capable of. This event not only showed us just how special he is compared to everyone else around him, it also shows that even though he may be given advantages, but only through using and experimenting with them can he use these advantages to the max. Which is a nice change from other isekais where the main characters get to fast forward or skip the experimenting or learning process and become experts instantly. Pretty much, it's nice to see that he doesn't know everything and is willing to learn about the things that he doesn't know, including this very new world that he's now a part of. Food has one other purpose in Death March to a Parallel World Rhapsody. It is responsible for the budding relationship that Satu has with the residents in this world. For example, it's through food that Satu won over the three slave girls, Lisa, Pochi, and Tama, and it's through food we can see the state of his relationship with them. Food can be said to be the unifier. It places beings from different species and social classes as equal. Sorry, got a little sidetracked by the food. It's just that I found it to be rather fascinating how they gave so much attention to food, and got me thinking that maybe there might be more to Death March to a Parallel World Rhapsody than meets the eye. But I could just be overthinking everything. For me, Death March to a Parallel World Rhapsody is one of those series that needs to be watched when I'm already in a good mood. Otherwise, it will be impossible to make it through an entire episode without a hissy fit or two. But if I've already had a relatively good day, this is enjoyable enough for me to wind down to. Or heck, I was actually looking forward to eating dinner on the 3 days I was watching this. Overall, this series was enjoyable. It has some things that were done quite well and things that was rather disappointing. That said, this is one of the better isekai series that I've seen, so if you're into isekais, give it a shot. Otherwise, skip it.